All right, Maximus Analysis here for September 11th, 2015. Just want to take a little time out to, wish everybody, to take some time to reflect on what happened, the events September 11th. I was actually in New York, so I had a friend of mine that was actually in the building, and I remember actually having to tell myself maybe she was gone, and every year I call her on this day because, again, it was just seeing that happen and kind of stressing yourself out. I had a person at my church that actually passed away. He was a single dad. It was a horrific event. Again, I don't like getting into political stuff at all, but it was definitely a day that, again, I had my significant other at the time, now my wife, was actually in Manhattan. I remember I couldn't speak to her because the phone service was down and stuff like that. So again, it was traumatic. Again, I don't believe, I just want to leave it there, and we can get into markets now. Just my little spiel on September 11th. Choppy theta burn day on the weeklies. Again, it was just really, really light. Very, very choppy day. I mean, look at this 15-minute, for goodness sakes. This was what happened between 5 a.m. and 11:30. They popped it a little bit after 2 o'clock, but my goodness, it was choppy. We'll see what happens. Again, on the daily time frame, you can see that they just need to pop somewhere. It just needs to go somewhere. Now, I'm still holding a minor position in some SPY puts for expiring next week. So I don't know where they're going to go. But again, it's just, I don't know if they're going to break up or break down. I think they might break down. But I just am holding something light because you can look how light this volume is based on yesterday. And it's just coiling to pop somewhere. Again, if it pops upside, I'll be wrong. And I'll pretty much going to have to just give up the position. But if I'm right, hopefully they can start some volatility and maybe test down to these previous lows. It looks like the line in the sand is around this 1935 level was pretty much being held or needed to be held. I think it was 1932 actually. If you go on the 15-minute, you can see that this not 1932, excuse me, 1927 was the area that kind of we want to see hold, because if they break that again, they can continue to the downside, and they don't have a sell signals yet. A minor one, but again, they've just been popping it sideways, which is, again, there might have been a crap load of weekly calls and puts, and they just put it sideways to crush both of them. The NQ you can see pretty much about the same thing. Higher lows in place, but again, they break above this 43.68. That would be something that you say, okay, now they might move with a little bit of juice. But again, we want to see how they break into it versus just taking a breakout. Again, always waiting for them to prove regarding price action. Unless they add some huge volume and close near the highs of the day, we would still look at tomorrow action if they shot it all the way up here. And would have to basically look at a break of that high the next day and kind of hold our nose and put a stop below here. But again, they're still in weak territory. Again, a break of this low, we'll see if they can come back and test these lows right here. The YM, out of all of them, this one looks the most beat up. But again, that doesn't mean that it's going to continue down. But you can see that we have this going on right here. But the previous trend is still to the downside. So they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or maybe 1, 2. I don't want to get too much into the Elliott wave stuff, but we'll see how much, if they're going to pop back up above this 16,685 region. Excuse me. You have crude did not give a buy signal yet. So again, it's still in a very odd place. Now, people might say, what the hell is the buy signal? Well, if I'm trading it daily, I would like to see at least a break above a high. So this high was 46.04. The high of today was 45.88. So that means I'm not in it. I'm just not in it if I'm looking at the daily time frame. Again, there was a lot of movement on the 15-minute. Again, you see the move down and had another flush up. But just a pretty sideways day. But if you look on the daily, you could say, okay, we we look like we have lower highs in place, and if it breaks below this 44, they can go back and retest that 37 to 33 area. Looking at some beta names, Apple had a pretty good day, but everything was just low volume, and everything came at the end of the day. I didn't want to. I actually took a short on Tesla today, but I actually didn't want to hold it over the weekend, so I took a little loss on that one. But I still was kind of looking forward to potentially roll and break this area, but I just didn't want to hold over the weekend. One, I didn't want the Theta burn, and two, I'm just not sure where they're going to pop this thing, even though I still have the bias to the short side. You have Priceline. Again, this is in very overbought territory, and the volume is just weak. But again, we just have to see if they're going to break down below, let's say this 1275 area, or they're going to break above this 1300 area. Volume is very, very light, but they did close near the highs of the day regarding, the price action. But you could see that the price action was painfully sideways. It was a, weekly call and put crushing frenzy. So we'll see what happens. Again, we should have a lot of movement coming over the weekend, and we'll see how this one plays out. We have Netflix again. I was actually looking to short this, and I probably should have shorted it, but I will look for a break on Monday. I didn't get a sell signal, meaning I didn't get a break of a low. And again, they could pop this up. I just don't want to wait over the weekend. I'd rather take it on a Monday, even if it gaps down a little bit, because I think they're going to be testing this one soon. You can see this is just to me, in my eyes, this is just a sideways little flag pattern to continue to the downside. But I wanted to technically do that versus me trying to predict where that is. Amazon again broke back above, so Amazon still looks fairly good. Even if you had a sell signal, you excuse me, you have to kind of get out of that, or at least say, okay, above, let's say Thursday's highs, that would be your out. LinkedIn looks very overbought. LinkedIn looks very overbought. The volume is not there, so I want to see how it reacts its first sell signal. Again, if we just put some basic fibs on here, we could see that we're about that 50% level. So again, we'll see how that one goes. Let me see what we got. We got right there. So it hasn't got to the 50. The red little line is a 50% line. So again, we'll see how that one goes. It hasn't gotten to that as yet, so it could have a little bit more upside potential to it. Again, I need a technical signal to get me into a trade versus just kind of fading it. I'm just not good at that shit. So some people are really good at it, but again, as long as you have a defined, everybody has their own trading style. So if you have your own defined, I always like to trade against support and resistance. It's always been something that has helped me, even if I'm on the wrong side, to have something to lean against. So again, Theta burn, Theta burn Friday, going into the long weekend. Not the long weekend, into the weekend, and we'll see where they break it. Again, I'm just going to be very cautious, and there's going to be money to be made. You just don't have to force it, because right now, if you've been forcing trades to the up and downside, if you're not on an intraday time frame, it's been really difficult. So we'll see how it continues, and have a great weekend. Take care.